Okay guys, so I'm back at the shop here the next day. Clear coat on the panels, all nice and hard. So I'm going to get my air compressor, air it up. I'm going to pull out some 400 sandpaper on my DA and quickly sand this down, get it nice and flat so I can get down any of these hard edges here. If you take a look at the light, you can kind of see it, how it distorts, especially near the tires. You can see the hard edge, how that light distorts when it goes from the car panel to the tires. That's a hard edge I'm talking about. So I'm going to knock all this down here, knock it down nice and flat so I can do all the rest of the airbrushing on this project. Like I said, it's going to be very minimal buildup on the next stuff, like the tires, the grill, everything else like that. It's going to be pretty minimal. So get that all aired up right now, and yeah, I'll get the sand in this. Okay guys, so I got the panel's all sanded down with 400. That's pretty much taking care of all the hard edges. The dust nibs that you can remember were up in here as well. Those are now gone. Everything's pretty flat, so I'm going to have minimal buildup on the next step that I'm doing. Then as you see here, if you take a look, I don't know if you can see it or not. There we go. See that spot on top of the tire here where the light is still catching that and reflecting that light? So that's where it hasn't been sanded yet, or the sandpaper hasn't totally flattened this area out. I don't want to quite do that because I've only sprayed 2 coats of clear on this here last night. So what I'll do in those cases, I'll get something like a gray Scotch-Brite, or in this case, it's a well-used red piece that I have left. Gray would be better, but you just want to kind of lightly go in there and just dull those areas out just a bit. So whenever you're airbrushing next, you'll get proper adhesion there. If you got to go over top of that area, and you can see there, I've dulled out pretty much the center section. So I'll go around that. I'll go around the car here real quickly, and I'll do that to the other edges I haven't done yet. Okay guys, so now that I got the panel sanded down, I finished up those little parts that were still showing. I'm ready to go in here now and do some shading work and some hard edge kind of work here. So what I noticed, if you can take a look, so when it was clear coat, I could still see my lines. You can still kind of see the line right in there a little bit. But now that I sanded everything down, I can't see my lines anymore. So you can kind of faintly see this one that goes around there and that kind of line going right there. But, you know, because it's a little bit hard to see, I'm just going to show you how to add those back on, just in case you have this kind of issue and you want to see where all your lines are. So when you take a look at your stencil here, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do this white highlight hard edge that goes up over the wheel well, through the center of the door and through the center of the car. So what I'll need to do in order to make sure I'm getting this correct here is I'm going to take a razor blade, I'm going to cut this bottom section out where the tires are, and I'm going to line it up with this bottom section here, put my transfer paper underneath and put my lines back on with the car where they should be, so I can put those all back in place. So I'll show you, I'll show you how that's done. So guys, pretty easy again here. So all I'm doing is just putting the transfer paper back underneath the vehicle and just re-going over those lines with that pen there. Like I said, I like to use the pen. The pen allows me to see the lines that I've covered. It leaves obviously the pen mark on all the lines where I'm drawing. So it makes it a little bit easier to double check all your lines here too. I find it also flows a little bit better and it transfers a bit nicer than the pencil would as well. So that's what I tend to use is the pen. So yeah, all you got to do is just line up something like, if you can see in the bottom left hand corner there, that tire, just line up your tire where it should be, and then put the carbon paper underneath, and just keep going back over and transferring all the lines until you've noticed that you've transferred all of them back again. So like I said, you know, I can still faintly see the lines, but just for the purpose of the video too, I'll put those back in there So they're a lot easier to view on the camera here as well. And plus, once again, it doesn't hurt to see those a little bit better as well. So here I'm just covering up the vehicle. So what I'm going to do now is just all the white highlight areas. So as you see, I'm just cutting out the sections there where the white highlight areas would be up on that front fender and through the center of the door and on the quarter panel of the car. I'll just cut all that section out there just so I can airbrush inside there, and I get those hard edges that I was referring to earlier. So if you were to look at my my reference picture shows a lot of hard edges where those highlights come through the center of the vehicle there. So that's why I'm doing this section here where I'm cutting everything out. Once again, if you can do it all freehand, hey, that's fantastic. I prefer the look of the hard edges, so that's why I do the masking and the cutting here. So as you see, I'm going back through the vehicle right now. I'm just adding the white highlights to the center of the vehicle, through the front fender, through that quarter panel. So another word for hard edges would be a sharp edge. And I think that's what I was trying to say, was a sharp edge. But there's a sharp edge and a soft edge. A soft edge here is going to cover, the paint will cover both sides, and it'll flow into one another. Whereas a hard edge, when I unmask this here, there'll be a definite line that separates the white highlights and the original color of the car underneath that the masking film there. And now with that unmasked, you can definitely see that the sharpness of that line and how it separates the white highlights on the upper portion of the vehicle and the lower portion. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut out the section where I'm going to do the darker shading, which would be where all your shadows would normally be when your vehicle door would contour down. It's going to be in the lower section of the door, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing here now. I'm going to unmask this, or sorry, cut out this section and unmask it, and I'm going to shoot in my my shadows. So then too, when you're always shooting your black, it's always good to over reduce it so it doesn't lay on too dark at one time. So if you over reduce your airbrush paint a little bit more, it'll allow you to spray on that color a little bit lighter, so you don't get full coverage right away, which for when you're doing your shadowing, that's what you want. You want it to slowly build up and not build up right away. And as you can see in this section here, I'm just going back in and I'm hitting the highlight areas here too. So this section here, I'm just masking it off just to give that little section underneath the door a little bit of shadowing as well. Going in back in here, and I'm doing a little bit of shadowing just in the grill section there too. You can't quite tell it on the camera here, but when you're looking at this in person and I'm doing it, I'm shadowing in where the darkest portions are in the picture, and I'm leaving the rest of it a little bit shaded, a little bit lighter. You can see it in person. On camera though, it kind of looks like it's a lot darker, and I'm just coloring it in. But in person, you can tell the difference of where the areas are highlighted and where they're darkened. So then if you can see here, I have a little bit of blue mixed into my paintbrush and my airbrush gun there now, a little bit of blue and white. Just going back in, I was just doing a little bit of the highlight areas like the hood pins and that section there that has the Roadrunner emblem on it as well. So now that I got that unmasked, I'm going to go back and start doing the turn signals on the front of the vehicle on the side there. Just a little bit of orange, just Molly orange I'm mixing in right now, and just give it a little bit of highlights, just to pull the look out there. So yeah, nothing too bad, and that's why I just same thing. I just have it covered with the clear mask and have those little sections cut out, just so I can airbrush those too. And like I was saying, when you have it masked over like that and you cut the sections out and airbrush them, when you unmask it, it gives you a nice sharp edge. You can, like I was saying, if you can do it freehand, it's all good. I just like that sharp line look on it. So now this section here, I'm just going over I'm just starting to do the rims and the highlights on the rims there and get those all painted the color I want. I have a little bit of, I believe it's called Galaxy Gray I mixed up for this. And that's what I'm going to use as my base color on the rims. It gives it a really nice effect. Once it's clear coated, it's going to shine like it's actual metallic, and it separates the rest of the car. So when you're looking at it at different angles, the way I have these hung in my shop is right underneath the set of lights. So the set of lights really pull out the Kandy Magenta of the car, and they also really pull out this Galaxy Gray that I have the rims painted as well. And it's kind of funny here too. I think at the beginning of the video series I said I filmed it all in real time, so it's going to be a pretty long video. After going back and looking at these videos for real time, definitely had to speed these up here, because I think the real time it actually took to do this might have been around that 7 to 10 hour mark, with the clear coating, sanding, wet sanding, polishing, and all the masking, cutting out and stuff like that, and transferring lines. So it definitely took a while, that's for sure, but it turned out really good in the end. So definitely wanted to speed these up here so it wasn't like a 10-hour video. So, and you see me right here now. So that piece of paper I'm holding, I'm just using that for sharp edges, and then that's the highlights that you get like on the rim there from where the light source is. That's what I'm doing there. I went back in and covered it. So I used my Galaxy Gray as the base. I'm just going back in now with some white and some overproduced white and some overproduced black, just to add in the highlight sources of the rims and tires here. You'll see me here in a bit there too. I also use a little fine line brush for getting the very fine lines on this. I find the airbrush does a pretty good job, but I also have seen that more control with a paintbrush as well for laying down the very, very fine lines. Also, if you're doing this at home, something that's going to help speed up the process and the time on this here too is if you have two airbrushes loaded up with white and black for highlighting, then you don't have to do what I've been doing this video, is switching back and forth and cleaning the gun each time. That definitely adds a little bit more time onto it. But I had one of my needles on my other guns bent, and it's just waiting for my new airbrush needles to arrive. So at the time, the only thing what I had to do was clean that gun between each color change here. If you don't have to do that, it's definitely going to save you a lot of time, and you'll be able to whip out these projects a lot quicker as well. So in this portion here, what I'm doing, I've got that clear mask over the rims and tires again. I'm just cutting in between the rim spokes here, just so I can shade that in black, and just separate those colors a little bit more. That's pretty much all I'm doing in that section there. Here you see I've got it unmasked. I did the same thing, went back over it now, and I'm just kind of spraying in the tires, getting some more black in there, and then I'll be doing some white highlights here. Oh, there it is right there. Some white highlights there shortly as well. So And whenever you're doing stuff like this, just make sure you got your reference picture handy and close by. Sometimes too, there might be some things you'd like to change. For example, when I was doing this, the tires on the reference picture were a lot more highlighted, but because I'm going to be adding in a darker color in the background, I just decided to do a little bit less highlighting on those tires. And the top section there too, you see I'm just doing a blue mixture with, I think it's just called a light blue. And blue, gray, and white. I'm just doing the chrome trim that'd be around the windshield. Taped off. I'm doing the little bit on the interior there too to get those seats in the interior a little bit white, a little bit white, and darken them up there gray and add some more highlights in there as well, just so they're not just the same white that the background canvas is. Now I've got the headlights masked off, so I'm just doing some detailing on the headlights. That piece there is just a sharp line that goes over the headlights to give it that a nice cool headlight look appearance to it. So just adding some highlights in there now, some little fine lines and details, and just adding a little bit of details. And it's always good there too if you take a look and see your reference picture, just to see where there might be a little bit of lines that stand out that really make a difference. And just adding a little bit more black to a tire I missed there the first time around. So, and going back in here now. So what I'm doing is I'm just transferring the lines for the grill lines. So I'm pulling that line all the way across. So whenever I cut this out, I'll be able to add the straight lines on there. So if you see me going up and down into the red portion of the vehicle, that's just so I can use those as reference lines. Once I have the grill and the rear grill cut out, I'll be able to put tape straight across there and get myself some nice lines exactly where they're supposed to be. Perfect, guys. Well, this is the end of this section here for video 3. I'll be posting video 4 there right away, so stay tuned for that.